Pay me, pay me, pay me my silver now. Pay me or go to jail. Pay me my silver now.
Good morning, Bix Weir, roadrunner.com with your morning horn disease, your sip of chaga coffee. Oh, the insanity of silver price suppression is shocking to most people. Everybody knows there's massive silver deficits. Everybody. Physical silver deficits. Those are supposed to be filled by an increase in price, which increases the amount coming into the market because miners become more profitable. They mine more silver to add to the market. It's exactly the opposite of what we see. The insanity of silver price suppression makes so many dislocations of determining value that just the very thing that the world what's it called? Pardon my voice. Lots of screaming and yelling and singing at the Litecoin Lisa event. Great time was had by all. Thank you, everybody, for coming. Raised a lot of money for a very good cause. So, yeah, I can't speak anymore. But, I mean, just look at this line right here. Supply and demand are supposed to be become in balance by the price of silver rising, which raises the amount of physical silver that comes into the market. That's how a normal market works. So the Silver Institute puts out their annual silver summary, and listen to what they say about silver deficits. They, first of all, absolutely, they point out right down here, we've had 4 years of silver deficits. We're looking at, I don't even know how many more years, the way they calculate price, will have silver deficits. What happens if the price doesn't go up? We just won't be able to get any metal. And in a free market, price and the supply of the underlying commodity are equalizing forces. The higher the price, the more physical silver comes onto the market because the miners are more profitable. Look what's happened in silver over the last, 10 years. The supply of silver has been pretty much flat for 10 years. Flat for 10 years, where everything we see that uses silver, including investors, but especially solar panels, electric cars, everything is increasing massively, except the supply of silver is not moving, has not moved for 10 years. 10 years. Something's got to give. Why isn't the supply going up? It's a very simple answer. The price is suppressed. It's not profitable to mine silver. It hasn't been for years. Depending on the mine, and most of the silver, it's like the only metal on the planet that comes as a byproduct of some other action, mining zinc or copper or whatever you're mining. Silver is known as a byproduct. Why is that? It's the most important metal on the planet. And has been for a very long time because it's the best conductor of electricity and has so many other great properties. Why is it being mined as a byproduct? Because they've held the price down for so very long. I love to do this. So on my little pricing thing here, since 1980, these are the prices of the, quote, precious metals. Gold and silver obviously are precious metals because they've been used as precious metals for a zillion years. Palladium and platinum, semi-precious metals, people like to call it. But look, since 1981, look what's happened to the price of the precious metals category. Gold has gone up since 1981, since hitting its all-time high. Remember, silver and gold hit all-time highs in 1980. We'll go from 1980. From 1980. Gold has gone up right here. 191%. No, wait, we got to go back a little bit. There we go. 272% gold has gone up. Now, palladium, granted, back in the 2000s, when catalytic converters really started kicking in, the price of palladium has skyrocketed. Most of it comes from Russia, I believe, which is another issue. Russia doesn't like people who rig the commodities that they make, that they dig out of the ground, that their sweat and blood pulls out of the ground. So they're not going to stand for much funny business, shall we say, with the criminal bankers. So yeah, palladium's gone skyrocketing, not because it's a precious metal, but because it's used in catalytic converters and other things outside of, I'd call it industrial metal. How many of you have a palladium coin or a platinum coin? Some people have platinums. Very few have palladium. I don't even know why it's called a precious metal, truthfully. It should be industrial metal. And yeah, it has gone up because the price, there's an underlying factor that you need palladium. Silver, on the other hand, is it's 50% of its all-time high. Silver, look, way down below. The worst of all precious metals is silver. Why is that? Why is that? Because of assholes like this at the Silver Institute. This is why, and this is the number one publication for silver stats. Number one. They come up with this graph every year right here. Shows supply, demand, total demand, net investment, all that. This is like the be-all, end-all of silver analysis, which is completely ridiculous. But here's what they say. And notice they don't understand how pricing is supposed to be equalizing of supply. Crucially, institutional investment often dominates price action. Well, that's market rigging. Institutional investors are the criminals out there, the market riggers. JP Morgan, Citibank, Bank of America. Institutional investment often dominates price action, which in turn affects those price elastic elements of demand. Last but not least, and this is the kicker, the contrast between institutional activity and supply-demand fundamentals is arguably necessary for the silver market to function. We have to have market rigging, or the silver market won't function. It is a must. And what is a properly functioning silver market? If supply is going down, the price should go up. So we have the exact opposite of what the Silver Institute is saying. Let me read that again. Last but not least, the contrast between institutional activity and supply-demand fundamentals is arguably necessary for the silver market to function. After all, deficits need to be filled by metal sold by professional investors, while surpluses need to be absorbed by them. That is not how free markets work. Deficits should be met by increasing price, which increases the amount of silver brought into the market. That's how a free market works. But we haven't had a free market in silver for so freaking long. I do think this supply-demand deficit right now, we're on this will be the 5th year, and it'll go out into the future. And one day, everybody will say, oh my God, maybe the Silver Institute is wrong when they say shortages in silver the only way that market functions, it must be equaled out by the selling by institutional investors. That's bullshit. It's supposed to be equaling out by price, supply, and demand, and price. And the equal trading of physical silver on the markets. And we don't have a physical silver market on the planet. We got the CME, the Futures and Options Derivative Market. That's why Rustin Binham said during the silver squeeze of a couple years ago, Rustin Binham came out and said, we had to tamp down the price using the market fundamentals. The market fundamentals are naked shorts. That's the market fundamental. And a structured deal manufactured by JP Morgan, Bank of America on their 1.2 billion ounces of silver that they stole while they were suppressing the price. Anyway, the Silver Institute should be put out of business. And you can see who's paying their bills. Here it is. Quarterly Mining, Fresnillo. Their Fresnillo is huge. I'm saying that wrong. Pan American Silver. All these companies should be screaming and yelling, not giving the Silver Institute their money. Hochschild. These are all the big mining companies. Sprout, what are you doing? Why are you supporting these idiots? It is shocking what they write. Anyway. So here's what's going to happen in the real world to silver. It's happening right now. Investors panic into platinum ETFs as South Africa power crisis threatens global supply. You're going to see every country that mines these very, very precious natural resources, they're all going to shut them off. So That's part of destroying the banking cabal, the market riggers, is stop supplying the world with the real thing. Mexico is going to shut off all silver exports. Mexico is the largest silver maker in the world. They should be the richest country in the world. They have more reserves than anybody, and they have supplied over 33% of the silver that has come into the world in the last 200 years. Had they held on to it because they didn't want to sell it, as the price is so suppressed by the banking cabal that literally runs Mexico as well, they'd be the richest country in the world by far. They can still be the richest country in the world. Trump wasn't joking when he said Mexico will be the wall. It's all about silver. You let the price of silver trade freely. It's up at $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 an ounce. And yes, Mexico would be the richest country in the world. And yes, they would build a wall so the crazy Americans don't run down into Mexico to take their silver. I mean, there's going to be such a migration out of America into Mexico when silver is allowed to be freely traded, because most of the people came from Mexico to the U.S. for the freedoms that we had and for the economic, they can build a life for themselves, and a lot of them send money back to Mexico. What if it happens that, oh, by the way, all your friends and family are getting rich in Mexico because silver is freely traded? Everybody's going to run back to Mexico who ran here for the economic opportunities. It's not that they love American, speaking a different language in a different country and all that. It's such a hardship to move somewhere where you don't speak the language, you don't have any connections. Why not go home where you speak the same language, your family is there, and oh, by the way, they're getting richer than you are over in America, working a shitty job. They're all out in the backyard digging up, tons of silver that's worth so much money they don't want to give it away. Anyway, we're going to see a lot of this. As a matter of fact, Chile stuns the market and electric vehicle makers by nationalizing lithium industry overnight. This happened on Friday. The weaponization of commodities in the world that is increasingly turning multipolar, and where legacy trade links and commercial bridges are burning down metaphorically, is accelerating. Chile's president, Gabriel Boric, stunned the world on Thursday when he said he would nationalize the country's lithium industry, the world's second largest producer of metal essential in electrical vehicles, to boost its economy and protect its environment. You're going to see every country do that. There will be nationalization, probably in the United States too. I don't have an answer, and that's one of the questions that the Road to Ruta documents ask: is will the government take over the mining of gold and silver and all commodities? I don't know. When the system falls apart, anything is possible. We don't need to now because we barely make anything. We buy it from everybody else. Everybody's accepting these crazy electronic blips known as the Federal Reserve note. It's an IOU, unlimited amount for their precious resources. That's going to end abruptly. So, yeah. Big announcement yesterday. First Republic tumbles after deposits plunge more than expected. Borrows $100 billion from the Fed, FHLB, and JP Morgan. $100 billion. This is a bank that at the beginning of the year, probably AAA rated. It had a very high rating. And all of a sudden, poof, it's gone. Why? It's a Wonderful Life. Watch It's a Wonderful Life. They're very similar to the Silicon Valley Bank. And there's like tons of them. All the mid-tier banks invested in the same thing. Just wait till the commercial real estate portfolios go bust. We're going to see hundreds, if not thousands, of banks go under this year. Can the system withhold that? I don't know. They can do a lot with the computers and derivatives. It's a click of a mouse to set the price of gold and silver to minus $40. They did it in oil. They could do it in gold and silver because they aren't freely traded. The key is getting assets in your own possession. I'm not saying you could go out there and someone will pay you $40 to hold your silver. It's a different world. Silver will still be trading probably above $20 or $30 when the price of silver on the COMEX is at minus whatever they want to put it at. I remember when they tried to slam silver down below $10, it was still trading for $20. Double premiums. It is insane what is going on right now. Get your metal into your own possession. It's harder and harder to get. The one thing that the Silver Institute gave us that we can kind of hang our hats on is the supply side of silver has not changed. Everything else is exploding higher, but the supply from mine production and recycling has not changed. It's still at 1 billion ounces, hovering right around 1 billion ounces. Silver should be a boring market, but because price isn't allowed to reset all the other figures, price is the number one thing. A fairly traded price is the number one thing for a free market, because price fixes everything. It's an automatic adjuster. If the price of silver was $2,000 an ounce, we would see supply going over 2 billion ounces every year, because they can spend more money to try to find more reserves. Now, a lot of the silver reserves are just gone, because they tend to be on closer to the surface. Gold, you can go up and down and find it everywhere. Just wait till gold goes to 5,000 an ounce. You don't think they'll be mining the Colorado River for all that placer gold? Billions and billions of ounces of placer gold, and the secret parts of the Grand Canyon, not counting all the gold in the river. Yeah. $5,000 an ounce, all of a sudden everything is profitable. And the bankers knew this when they set the price at $20.65, I think, or something like that, back in 1900. That was like right barely profitable in 1900. And then that price was fixed price, stayed fixed until the 1934 Gold Act, where they confiscated it. I hope everybody understands that a rigged price destroys everything. Granted, if the price wasn't rigged for the past 200 years, 170 years, we would not have the world we have today. We would not have cell phones that are so cheap. You might think they're expensive, but they have little bits of silver in them. If silver was $10,000 an ounce, we wouldn't have the same economic activity that we have today, especially on the technology side. There wouldn't be electric vehicles because it would be too expensive to build them. Cliff was just talking about this in his Substack post, that we really don't know the true cost of electric vehicles because we don't know the fair market value of anything that is happening. The electric vehicle industry, Tesla especially, doesn't ever tell us how much silver is in each car. There's been guesses, about 2 ounces per car. I think it's a hell of a lot more than that. So, but we'll find out. Our world wouldn't be the same unless all the price riggers, unless there was unlimited free money. We couldn't have built our military into what it is, the Space Force what it is. We don't know exactly what it is right now. You wouldn't be living in your house. We wouldn't enjoy the kind of luxury we have in the West. But on the same level, we wouldn't have the wars either. Wars would be expensive to fight because you'd have to use your precious gold and silver. You'd have to pay people in gold and silver. Wars didn't last that long until the unbacked fiat monetary system came around. It was too expensive. And nobody wanted to go to war because they knew they'd get destroyed economically. And the criminal bankers have flipped that upside down. Every time the system's about to fall apart, they love to go to war because they can print as much money as they want. Oh, it's for the cause. It's for the Ukrainian cause. Let's give them $50 billion that we create out of thin air, and we'll tax the people for it. Or you'll just have hyperinflation because you printed so much of it. And oh, by the way, we'll reroute it through FTX right into the Democratic Party to help rig the vote. It is an insane world we live in. So, yeah, there'll be more First Republics coming down the pike. Interesting thought. Cliff had sent me an email about people buying Bitcoin outside of the exchanges, massive amounts of Bitcoin outside of the exchanges. When that happens, none of that price activity gets baked into what you see. What you see is mainly Binance. I mean, you can, if you look at Bitcoin, let's click on Bitcoin and look at markets. Now, where does all this volume come from? Binance. Binance, and it's mostly swapping pairs like Tether and USDT. I mean, look at all the Binance crap. I mean, let's take a look at Binance, as a matter of fact. There you go. That's 69 billion on Binance. That's a lot of money in cryptos. 69 billion. And they hyperinflate everything. I mean, the volume, spot trading volume, look at that. 7.5 billion every 24 hours. You don't think Binance has a lot of power? Let's see if we can do a ranking. And they do futures, and it's just, there's nothing these guys won't do. Virtual assets have turned into virtual derivatives. Get your assets off these crazy exchanges, because you will lose them. Ask the people at Mt. Gox. I hear they're starting to get paid off, but not really. What has it been, like 8 years, 9 years? I don't know. I gave up on mine. They've already sold it all off to suppress the price. Anyway, interesting that Coinbase files court action to compel the SEC to respond to crypto rulemaking petition. The SEC, the way they deal with cryptos is they enforce rules by, or there are no rules, so they enforce it. They create rules by enforcement actions. If you saw Gary Gensler talk in front of Congress, he couldn't say that cryptos are securities. He couldn't tell you which ones were. If you don't know, if our regulators don't know which cryptos are securities, how are they arresting people? How did they screw with Reggie Middleton, for example, Veritasium? And that's the most egregious, because what Reggie invented was a way around the system. He invented a way. We don't need the SEC. We don't need the brokerage. We don't need JP Morgan. We don't need Citibank as the middleman to steal from us. That's why they went after Reggie. And I still believe it. I mean, I look at Veritasium as a lottery ticket and as insurance, because a lot of the coins that were developed after Bitcoin, a lot of them are probably fall under Reggie's patent, and that we'll have to come to grips with that. So I don't know how it will shake out with the 100 million tokens 98 million that are frozen by the SEC. And this is all happening after the crash. So who knows until then? Where do you want to be? I say physical silver right now. You can buy as many cryptos as you want. Physical silver is going to be the one that does best in the crash, in my opinion. And then after silver goes to $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 an ounce, sell your silver and buy things with it. Houses, if you can get a house at that point. But mainly cryptos. There'll be a ton of great cryptos that survive the crash. And that's the building blocks for our future. So, yeah, that's where we are. Hey, you want to learn more, go to roadtoruda.com. And if you want the silver Ruda coin, as of today, the 25th, we are still giving away one silver Ruda coin with every private road subscription. Go check it out. This is Bix. I'll talk to you later.